My name is Optimus Prime. We are autonomous robotic organisms, but you can call us Autobots.
I say we take off and nuke the entire site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure.
I want you to rest well, and a month from now, this Hollywood picture is gonna give you what you want. I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Inside Your Screen podcast. This is the KillingEve spoilerific review, and we're talking Season 3, Episode 6, End of Game. Now, I'm with my fellow host, Brendan Horgan. How are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm not too bad. I'm gonna tell you something now, which disheartens me. You were right, Brendan. You were right.
He's alive! He's alive!
Even after getting a pitchfork through his neck, Niko is still alive. And that's straight off the bat. Like, as soon as the episode begins, we see Eve in the hospital, and there's Niko. I'm a bit surprised, to be honest. I'm surprised because I'm wondering now if there's only 2 episodes left of this series, and I'm wondering how they can are they going to use Niko for some kind of endgame ploy? Is he going to be there for some reason? It seems weird that he's still alive. I knew you kind of called it, so kudos to you, Brendan, sir. But what do you think?
I don't know. Like you said, because he's only in this episode again for about 2 minutes. We see he's alive, and then we have the interaction where he basically tells Eve, he types to Eve because he can't talk, to piss off. Mm-hmm. But like you said, they've kept him alive for a reason. So I think he's definitely going to play a part. I think there's going to, whether or not he wants to, I think he'll be. I can see a standoff type of situation. You know, I can see somebody holding a gun to his head or a knife to his throat and eat that moment of Eve. Kind of, you know, I can see a standoff. I don't know how it's going to come, with who, whatever. But he's, like you said, the fact that they've kept him alive, and they haven't. My prediction was, if they kept him alive, it was more going to be. He couldn't communicate, so Eve kind of would think it was Villanelle. Yeah, but
she kind of she works out that it's actually Dasher.
Even though it's kind of, she didn't even ask Niko, from what we can tell. There was no, she didn't even ask Niko. She just completely worked it out for herself. So that's gone the opposite of what I thought it would be, because I thought that would be the kind of, Eve instantly thinks it's Villanelle, so wants kind of revenge.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of, you can sort of tell that the kind of puzzle pieces are coming together now. The thing about this whole series is that there's been so many different subplots that have been going on. That you can sort of start to see them unravel now, and you can start to see them sort of, come together. Like, we have the 12, the kitty, or the kind of where funds have been skimmed off the top, and it's heavily implied that Konstantin's the person that's doing this now, and that maybe he ordered the hit of the accountant's wife just by himself. We get to know a little bit more about the 12 face. What's her name? Elena.
I think it was Elena.
We have that kind of scene where Villanelle starts off there, and she's been basically given the title, but she's actually still doing the job that she's doing. And then you have Eve. She's been galvanized to kind of find out what's going on. So she's back at Bitter Pill, and she finds out that she goes to Barcelona. By the way, here's a quick question I need. This is really irritating me. Eve clearly isn't working for anyone at the moment. She's not working for MI6. She's not working in the restaurant. It doesn't seem implied that she's working at Bitter Pill. How is she paying for to go to Barcelona and all the
I don't know. I think it is implied she is working for Bitter Pill. I think it is. Yeah, okay. Because remember, she was sleeping there. But even then, she worked for MI6, so you'd have to assume she earned pretty decent money.
Yeah, and we didn't realize, I think it was 2 episodes ago, that she's staying with James, or it's, I don't know if she's still staying with the editor of Bitter Pill. But
I'd say Eve isn't short of a few bob. I think, the jobs.
She's okay.
the job at the restaurant was to keep her busy. You know that.
It's just, you know, sometimes when you watch films and you see like a kind of an American sort of in a house, and the house is massive, but you never find out what that person actually does, and you kind of think to yourself, what are these people earning? You know, it's just stuff like that kind of plays on me. But yeah, essentially we have quite a few things going on here.
What happens in this episode is exactly what they've started rushing the story along, haven't they?
Yeah, that's just what I was about to say. You can sort of tell that, you know, Eve's she gets the dasher pretty quickly. She connects the dots pretty quickly.
Yeah. So much happens in story-wise in this episode, more than any of the other episodes put together.
Yeah. But I mean, it's one of those weird ones. As we said in the last episode, are we going to be disappointed with how this ends? And I'm still thinking that yes, we will be.
Yeah, I think we possibly, maybe our expectations too are. We might be possibly upset or not, you know, fully happy with the way the series ends. I got there eventually. But in this episode, even though I noticed it clearly being a lot faster paced in regards to moving the story along than previous episodes, it wasn't to the detriment of the episode.
No,
it was a good episode. It was an episode that I came out of going, wow, we learned a lot from this episode. You know, there was a lot revealed. It moved the story on slightly, so it's given us an idea of possibly where they're going.
Yeah, I mean, I think as well, I kind of had I didn't know if you kind of felt this, but I've got the kind of feeling that this series is going to end with Villanelle defecting and she's going to join MI6. I know she did in season 2, and even Carolyn, there's a moment in this episode where Eve asks Carolyn, what did you ask her in prison? And she said to join us, and she refused. But you can sort of see now that Villanelle psychologically is in a place that she hasn't really been at before. You know, she's just come back from Mother Russia after killing her mother. She wants to leave with Konstantin and Irina. She doesn't want to be in this kind of situation. She doesn't want to be just an assassin anymore. She wants to be something more. And after having that meeting with the Eleanor woman and being told basically, you know, she's just been given a title. It's just a kind of glossy name for basically doing the same thing that she's been doing. She's not a keeper. Well, she's a keeper, but it's just a title. Yeah. Now it's basically like she wants to leave. So she's sloppy as well.
Yeah.
And she performs a kind of takedown in this with a politician, and she gets stabbed in the arm. Something that would never happen before. Her mind's not in the game.
She's showing in this episode. She shows like real vulnerability. So you know you've got the emotional side of that, and then you have it actually affecting the day job of being an assassin, like you said, where she was sloppy. She got sloppy on that kill.
That's what makes me think that she's gonna. I think her and Eve will kind of meet in the next episode, and then they'll, you know, whatever happens by the end of season 3. She'll have defected, because, you know, the whole kind of thing with the last episode of her family is rejection. She can't deal with rejection. She kind of feels that Konstantin's rejecting her now. The second time that's happened Konstantin's choosing his family over her, and she kind of feels like you kind of really get the sense that she's all utterly alone now. So who she's going to turn to? She's going to turn to Eve, isn't she?
One would assume.
Yes.
But I'm not sure. I'm not sure on that. I can't quite see her joining MI6 and teaming up with MI6. I don't think I can see that happening.
Yeah, we'll see. And another thing that you called, Brendan.
Well, there's a few things that I called quite.
You've been hitting the money here. Like, all I'm going to say is, who is your daddy and what does he do?
Yeah.
Konstantin.
You
are the father, maybe.
Yeah. I don't know. What did you get from that scene? That was a really cool scene, by the way.
In the car. In the car. She could be the next James Bond, man. I don't care what. She's a badass mother. She's just a stone cold agent. I love her.
She's fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a scene where she's with Steve Pemberton's character, the other MI6 agent. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. And she asks him, "Are you working for them?" And it kind of transpires that he does. But there's a bit where she asks him about the phone numbers, about where Kenny's his phone records, and he says, "Oh, I sent them." Oh no, it was like she meets like another agent in the park that's getting the phone number, and the guy says, "Oh, I sent it to your desktop or your email." And she's like, "Oh, I never received it," which to me kind of confirms the whole thing that Geraldine is an agent. I think Geraldine's
Geraldine,
yeah, her daughter, yeah. Who else would have access to her kind of email?
I kind of got the feeling that he was, because of the reveal at the end, I got the feeling that was to suggest that he was trying to hide the fact that Kenny had been speaking to Konstantin.
Oh right, no, I got the fact
because obviously he's dealing with Konstantin, so he wants to hide any link to Konstantin I think
this is a red herring. The whole like when he's in the car and he says like, "Oh, she kissed me." I think that's just the cover. I think that's the cover is that Geraldine's working for the 12 or working under Konstantin. The whole thing with Kenny is just a kind of red herring.
Maybe. As in Kenny asked me, was he the father?
Yeah.
But then why would Kenny be calling him?
Was it Kenny though?
Oh, I like that.
That's my theory.
Yeah, I don't fully buy into it. I still because it's totally hinted upon that the way when he asked me, was I his son, and she says, "What did you say?"
Yeah,
and he said, "I don't know."
Yeah,
and they have a moment there where they kind of that silence and the and that's what I got from that. I got they're trying to hint to us that they think that Konstantin is Kenny's father. Which would remove that, which it also does kind of, that's the take anyway in regards to why I thought the Steve Pemberton character, or is that his name, Pemberton?
Yeah, Steve Pemberton, yeah.
Steve Pemberton character withheld that information from Carolyn. Well, also the fact that he's just part of the 12 by all accounts.
So it looks like the walls are closing in on Konstantin. He was, his plan to escape is starting to kind of suffer, I think. Obviously with Villanelle asking to come with him, and he kind of makes up. There's some really great scenes in this as well, like when he's at Irina's ice hockey game and she's there with the air horn, thrusting her hips back and forth and blowing the air horn, and then sort of talking about the other team and not knowing what the team is. And then also towards the end as well, where this was the kind of one thing that I thought, oh, okay, that was a bit out of the blue. Irina, Konstantin's daughter, who then mows down her mother's boyfriend, and I kind of thought to myself, that came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
Was that a weird character trait? Because
is that because of the day she spent with Villanelle? Do you think?
Maybe, but we've only been introduced to her recently, and there's nothing to kind of suggest that she's a kind of killer. So that just for me jarred me a little bit. I just kind of thought, why would she run him down and then trample over him and give a goofy little grin at the end? I don't know. That was just a bit weird for me. I didn't find that particularly in keeping with what we know of her so far.
It's in keeping with the family. I mean,
sure, definitely.
I don't think it. Well, her dad doesn't seem to hide the fact that he works with assassins and has people killed, and it's just quite an open conversation with his 14-year-old daughter that that
so I wonder if she'll play a larger role in the last 2 episodes. Then I think something may happen to either Konstantin or his daughter Irina. I think that might be something. I think the 12 might catch up to him.
Like you said, the fact that Konstantin's now looking to do a runner, where did I miss that in previous episodes? Had he kind of made that suggestion to Villanelle before, or that he wanted to escape? Because that almost to me came as something brand new that I wasn't aware of.
I think there were little nuances. There were little kind of hints that he was looking to kind of. I mean, the whole thing with the accountant Kruger, you kind of got the sense that Konstantin was really behind it because when originally Kruger was like, "Oh, they think that I've taken the money" or something like that, and then the woman, the wife, who says, "Oh, he left an email or a flash drive," and Konstantin's like, "We'll give the flash drive to me. I'll make sure
Yeah.
it's okay." I think he's basically it's been very heavily implied that he's now got the information or he's now got the money and he's going to do a runner. I think that's what's been implied. This could be a whole big twist. This could be a whole like duplicitous type of twist where maybe he turns around and he's a double agent and he's just gathering the information. I don't know. But it is. I think it is all leading up to something which will probably come to a head either in the next episode, the penultimate episode, or indeed the last episode.
I can definitely see, yeah, I see where you're coming from. I can definitely see an almost, the Sting type twist where Carolyn and Konstantin maybe, no, I don't, maybe not Carolyn, because then you wouldn't have had scenes like the scene in the car.
Oh, well, you think Carolyn might be a double agent?
Not a double agent, but I think, not necessarily working for the 12 or working for the bad guys, but I think that, I think she might.
There's something there, though.
I can see that kind of, where you think, like, it's being hinted that Konstantin is kind of almost working on his own, right? He's kind of he's working for the 12, but we're getting a hint that there's stuff going on. Like you said, this money's disappeared from the account, and now there's talk of him wanting to leave, which would suggest, like you said earlier, that maybe Konstantin is taking this money and is looking to kind of do a runner on the 12. So, but then maybe that's a twist where he isn't actually looking to do a runner on the 12. He's trying to reveal something, or I don't know. I'm just rambling now.
Well, we'll see what happens. Another kind of point of this episode, and one of probably the best scenes I thought was the kind of confrontation between Eve and Dasher in a bowling alley of all places in Barcelona.
Really cool.
Now there was two things to this that I thought. Like, I mean, one, this seems to be we're seeming to get back to the original Eve of like season 1, where she's ballsy, going out of her way to kind of confront assassin. Dasher is an assassin. One of the best, one of the original, the OG, and Eve has gone out of her way to confront her, basically just go up to her and just say, like, look, I know who you work for, I know what you're doing, and I'm going to stop you. Ballsy move from Eve. But also, is it a kind of way to get Villanelle out of the, like, you know what I mean? I was kind of trying to understand the logic behind her just literally going up to her and just saying, like, hey, you, I know who you are. And then there's some great bowling as well. One thing that I really did notice is that they obviously, Sandra Oh is obviously not a good bowler, because every time she made a bowl, the camera would cut just before it kind of pins.
To be fair, I think it was maybe the last. You might be right. Yeah, they did do that. Apart from the last one,
I think there's only one shot where she takes and she gets a
totally focused on her and she got the strike. But like you said, that might have been like the 15th take of that.
I can imagine that day of shooting was just like, right, I'm going to get this strike. But yeah, no, it's a great scene. Once again, Dasher is just a standout character in this season.
So good.
Yeah, I mean, they're all great characters in their own rights, every one of them. But Dasher is a shining star in this example.
I agree on that scene, though, that it is a questionable one. Where, like, what's
the point? Like, why go up to her? Yeah,
it's
why not play it
risky.
covertly?
What does it achieve? I think it might have been. Do you know what? If we're looking at this relationship between the two, it might have just been for to reassure herself that it wasn't Villanelle.
Maybe, yeah.
That whole thing of when I meet Dasher, I'll kind of know, and I need to meet her to know if that's the case. And
to see the whites of her eyes.
Yeah, because she doesn't want the heartbreak of thinking Villanelle would do something like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is as well, because like they had a kind of, didn't they, in season 2, they had like a truce where Eve said, like, Niko's off limits, and Villanelle agreed. So there's that as well, I guess. But yeah, it just seems like this episode is kind of just trying to string everything together now. I mean, as I said, like before, there's a lot of different subplots going on. You've got the kind of money being scammed from the 12. You've got who killed Kenny. You've got who's working for whom. And you got to get all these. You got to give us a kind of nice present at the end of this and have it all wrapped up in a nice bow tie. So I feel like in this episode the strings are coming together. But I do agree with you from what you said that it does feel like it's getting a little bit rushed. And there are certain scenes that you can tell have probably been filmed that we're not actually seeing. There's a lot of. I get the feeling there's a lot of deleted scenes, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's just something like, as an example, I know last week was dedicated to Villanelle's return to Russia, but you know, a lot of that stuff could have been put in the last episode, and we could have got something, I don't know, new. But I mean, they're not going to run out of content for the episodes, are they? But it was almost like, and we spoke of it. I think the reason is because it was kind of quite conscious in my mind when I watched it, because we spoke about it exactly that last week. Like, we had an episode like last week that didn't really develop, push the story along much.
It was a character piece.
It was a character,
kind of
100%.
Give her character a bit more, and also I think it nicely settled her kind of the way she's. You know, I've been banging on about the fact that I think that Villanelle's having a bit of a breakdown this series. Yeah. And this episode kind of confirms it. You know, at the very beginning when the face of the 12, Eleanor, whatever her name is, sort of says to her like, "This is and she's like, "This is bullshit," kind of thing. Yeah. And the fact that she's getting sloppy now with the kind of job that she's like the kind of professional at. I think this is unhinging, and that whole episode was there initially just to kind of create that sense of the fact that, you know, Villanelle is very alone in this world. She has, you know, even her own mother. She had to kill her own mother basically because she has the darkness. And I think it's really just to kind of set up the kind of point of where will Villanelle go now. I personally think that this will be the kind of crossroads for her to get back with Eve. But there you go. Yeah.
What do you mean get back?
Well, not get back, but like. I think she's going to defect. I think she's going to choose to defect because she's fed up now with the 12. She's fed up with killing people. I don't know, but that doesn't seem like a. I don't know. I'll be very interested to find out what happens in the next episode. What are your predictions, Brendan?
Predictions for the next episode. I reckon there's going to be a lot going on. That's pretty much it. I don't know in America if they get trailers. I think they do. You know, like the way when they watch it in America, they have the kind of next week on.
Yeah, there are a few on YouTube. You can see a few.
But if I'm honest, I'm not going to look at those. I try and avoid those so I can just kind of. Right, we're going to have to, in the next episode, what must happen is they must reveal what went on during the conversation with Geraldine and Carolyn over the vegetable soup. Because that, in essence, is pretty important. You get the feeling that, like you said, if we're going on your theory that Geraldine is part of it and she's working for the 12, or you know, she's in essence working against her mother.
This could be a red wedding carrot soup meal that we're about to have.
They really have to show us that. But I don't think it's just by KillingEve standards they won't, and because I don't think there's ever been an episode. Maybe I'm wrong, but I probably am wrong. But I can't recall an episode that started directly where the last one left off. There's always time jumps in KillingEve.
Well, you've called it twice now. You called out that Niko was going to survive, and he did. You called out that Konstantin was going to be a father of either Geraldine or Kenny, and you know that's hasn't been confirmed yet, but it's heavily implied.
I also did say that possibly Konstantin and Geraldine, Geraldine were having a relationship, and he did say he tried to kiss her. So that's another one I've called.
That's true. But I think that's a cover, though. I think
we're racking up the points.
Points.
I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure I can buy into this, only based on that. If they do start the next episode in unexpectedly, and we see what goes down between Carolyn and Geraldine over dinner, what happens in that conversation, then that will be interesting. But I don't buy into that theory that she's part of it. I kind of maybe do believe this. She tried to kiss Konstantin. The reason why it's kind of a bit.
And we still haven't found, like, they still haven't discussed the whole magnet, the bug.
Yeah, exactly.
That's still in play. Even if it might just get something. It might just be a plot hole, and we never find out anything about it ever again. But you never know.
No. That's a really good point. So I think we definitely have to find out that. If we don't, I think it's pretty clear that there is no link with Geraldine. I suppose I'm going to assume the next episode is going to be the escape, kind of.
Konstantin and Irina, and possibly Villanelle,
and Irina and and Villanelle trying to escape.
Because Villanelle knows that they're going to Cuba now, so yeah. All right then. Well, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. If you're a fan and you like what you're hearing, then subscribe to our YouTube channel. Inside your screen, titles are on the screen now. And like, subscribe, push the little bell to notify when we update a new video. You can also catch us on iPlayer, on SoundCloud.
We're not on iPlayer.
Not iPlayer, iTunes.
iTunes podcast, Apple podcast.
Anywhere else, Brendan? Are we anywhere else? I don't know.
No, but we will be on iPlayer soon enough. By the time Series 4 of Killing Eve is made, they probably would have picked up on this podcast and we'll be doing the official after show on the iPlayer. So that'll be season 4 Killing Eve.
Brilliant. I look forward to it. Thanks for joining us.
Inside your screen.